All right, let's dive in. Today we're going to do something a little different. We're not going to bog you down with a bunch of heavy equations. Instead, we're going to tell a story. It's a story about this tiny little piece of software, our hero, a little agent, and her journey to figure out how to dance with a world that's always changing.
So our story kicks off with a really simple, almost poetic idea. We've got our agent, her whole world is just a single number line, and her mission, her entire purpose, is to find this moving secret, a number called target. Now, she doesn't have to predict where it's going to go next. Her whole job is just to stay close to it, to kind of dance with it in the moment.
So, how does she even start? Well, we meet her in her most basic form. Let's call her T0. Her wisdom, if you can call it that, isn't some complex algorithm. Nope, it's just a simple, consistent rhythm. A fundamental heartbeat that guides her every single move.
And this right here, this is her entire existence boiled down into a 3-beat dance. It's a constant loop. First, she looks. She observes where she is and where the target is. Second, she thinks. She processes that information and decides what to do. And third, she moves. She executes, taking one step. Observe, process, execute. That's it. This simple loop is the absolute bedrock for everything that comes next.
Now, the really cool thing about this first version is just how simple her logic is. She figures out the distance to the target, and then she takes one step in that direction. That's it. If the target is up, she steps up. If it's down, she steps down. And the step is always the exact same size. It's faithful, it's humble, but it's totally rigid.
Okay, check this out. This is like a page from her diary. You could see time, T, ticking along. The target is kind of hovering around 50, and her own position, X, is climbing steadily. And look at this error column, the error, the distance between them. It's shrinking, which is great, right? But here's the catch. Notice her movement. She always moves exactly 10 units. Always. It's working, sure, but there's no real learning going on here. It's just doing.
But that's just the beginning of her story. Now things get interesting. Our agent is ready for an upgrade. We're moving on to T1. And this is where she stops just acting and starts actually learning from what she does. She starts to listen to the echo of her own footsteps.
And this is the exact question that forces her to evolve. I mean, a fixed step is fine for a while, but to really truly dance with a target that zigs and zags, you got to be more flexible, more adaptive. So how can she learn to change the size of her own stride?
Well, the answer is this brilliant little feedback loop. After every single step, she now asks herself a very simple question. Did that last move help, or did it make things worse? If the error got smaller, great. She gets a little braver and makes her next step a little bit bigger. But if she overshot and the error actually grew, she gets gentler. She takes a smaller, more careful step next time.
I just love how the source material puts this. It's so poetic. It's not about math, It's about intuition. She's learning to adjust her own courage based on the direct results of her last action. She is literally learning how to learn.
This chart makes the whole concept crystal clear. When she makes progress, when she gets closer to the target, her next step gets bigger. You see that taller bar? She leans in. But when she overshoots, she pulls back, making her next step smaller and more careful. She's basically tuning herself on the fly.
And look, her journal has a new column now. Over on the right, you see step. This is her courage, right there in a number. At time 60, she absolutely nails it, getting the error down to just 0.2. So as a reward, her confidence grows, and her step size goes up to 2.10. But oops, she overshoots just a tiny bit. So what does she do? By time 70, she wisely pulls back, softening her stride down to 0.95. She's alive. She's responding to her own performance.
But hold on, we're not done yet. There's one more layer to her story. Our agent, now T2, is about to make her biggest leap. She's figured out how to listen to herself. Now, she's going to learn to listen to the world itself, to sense its mood.
And the key new idea here is something called volatility. Honestly, the best way to think about it is like the weather. Is the target being calm and predictable today, or is it a stormy day with the target jumping all over the place? She develops this soft memory, this sense of the recent turbulence.
And based on that weather report, she can now choose between two totally different ways of being, two different strategies. On those calm days, she enters careful mode, taking small, precise, delicate steps. But when the world gets stormy and volatile, she switches into curious mode, taking huge, bold steps to try and keep up. And this is the core of her highest wisdom. It's not just about tweaking a single number like her step size anymore. No way. This is about choosing an entire strategy, a whole mode of being, based on a much bigger, higher-level signal from her environment.
Her journal tells the final part of the tale. See that new mode column? At times 80 and 90, the world is calm, the error is tiny, so she's in careful mode. Makes sense. But then, look at time 100. Bam! The target makes a huge jump and the error spikes to 4.8. The world just got volatile and she instantly, intelligently, switches her strategy to curious to adapt.
So if you zoom out and look at her behavior over a long time in a more random, stormy world, you see this. She intelligently spends most of her time, like 65% of it, in curious mode. Why? Because that's the right dance for the music that's playing. She's matching her behavior to the world's personality.
So, what have we actually seen here? We've watched our little agent basically grow up, evolving through 3 totally distinct stages of wisdom. Let's just zoom out for a second and appreciate the beautiful, simple idea that connects her entire journey.
It started with T0, that simple, consistent heartbeat of action. Then came T1, where she learned to listen to her own performance and adapt. And finally, T2, where she learned to sense the world's mood and choose the right strategy for the moment.
And this, right here, this is the most profound takeaway for me. The highest level of intelligence wasn't about more complicated math or a bigger brain. It was about using a richer, better signal, this meta-feedback about the state of the world, to make a wiser choice between simple strategies.
So in the end, her secret was ridiculously simple. She didn't get smarter by memorizing the world or trying to predict the future. She got wiser by learning how to listen. First, she listened to the echo of her own steps, and then she learned to listen to the rhythm of the world itself.
And that really leaves us with one last thought, a question to take with you. In your own world, with your own drifting targets, how do you know? How do you know when it's time to be brave and take that bigger step? And when is it wiser to be gentle and just soften your stride? Something to think about. Thanks for joining me.